Look at that. We're live again. That was quick. Seems like we were just on this together 5 minutes ago.
You didn't have me on for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then finally you're like, okay, well, all right, you can be on all the time now. So, but all that tells me is that Mark is very busy. That's what that tells me.
There's two things that happens. Actually, you're not incorrect. First, Mark is moving.
Oh,
so he's out of pocket.
Got it.
There we go. Totally gone. So you are Mark's replacement. And second, you're the only other person I know who knows Magic the Gathering besides myself.
Oh, right. Right. Obviously, I mean, this is this whole issue here is kind of tangentially related to D&D and Wizards of the Coast, as well. I should say D&D. I mean, it's obviously a Wizards of the Coast company decision, but it really does affect Magic the Gathering. But that is true. I did spend many years of my life fully dedicated to that game. So.
Mm-hmm. And I did too. I'd say actually all my friends, in fact, my group that I play Pathfinder with, in fact, last night, everyone in that group except for one of them I met through Magic the Gathering. Back in the alpha days. Yeah, like I actually met them. I went to a Magic the Gathering tournament at Columbia University in 1993. And I met John Statz.
Nice.
And Chris Beamer there, and then Seth Lipton. And that's how I ended up becoming friends with those guys. And I still am friends with them to this day.
So take Magic the Gathering, but replace it with Dungeons and Dragons, and that's me with all my friends.
See? There you go.
We met because of D&D, like in middle school, and became friends on the bus because we saw each other with like an AD&D second edition player's handbook, and then that basically has formed the core kind of group of my friendship, and those are the friends that I'm still friends with today. I was the best man in all their weddings, and it's
this is my core group of friends too. I mean, we play games with. In fact, that's what we always do. We get on at 8, and then we like BS for an hour, and then we start playing Pathfinder at 9, and so we actually spend more time talking about like Picard and the D&D movie and just geek stuff and games we're playing in World of Warcraft and stuff. And then we're like, okay, let's get going, like you're supposed to. I mean, that's the pure beauty of Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder role-playing games, is because you end up spending only half the time playing the game and the other half just having fun with your friends, man.
I mean, I know we are here to talk this WoTC Disney potential feud coming and WoTC drama. But I will say that, that is one thing I think that about D&D that I think they are aware of it, but I think you need to be aware of it. It's a social activity. Mm-hmm. And it's not just about the game itself, right? But it's about the experience and the friendships and sort of all of the things that kind of accompany it, that sense of belonging, that sense of community. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons why I think it's, for me personally, so important to go to things like conventions, is because I want to be able to sort of plug in and touch base with that community and feel like I'm a part of something. It's not just about this sheer enjoyment of the game itself, but also about all of the ancillary things that surround it. So
here's the Cliff Notes version of what we'll discuss, because I'm sure everyone is going to be like, what's going on, man? All right, so a few things. First up, and here's what the order. I actually have a little agenda here. How about that? I got organized.
I have Diet Dr. Pepper, but I should have brewed some tea.
You have time, because this might take a while. No, seriously. First up, we're going to talk about the issue at hand, is that there was a, quote, leak, if you will, of some Magic cards. And to get the Magic cards back, WoTC hired the Pinkertons to rough up the Magic player, threaten him, and then get the cards back forcibly, which legally they probably had no right to do any of this. And so that's the first story, which is mind-boggling in so many ways. I also then want to go past, and I'll give a very quick Cliff Notes version of the history of the Pinkertons, because I know who the Pinkertons are. And then I saw some comments yesterday were like, oh, the Pinkertons from Red Dead Redemption. And then I thought to myself, might need to give some people a little bit of history on the Pinkertons, because they are one of the most influential groups in the history of the United States, if not the world. And they were bigger and more influential than the U.S. Army at one point. That's how big the Pinkertons were. And they are the definition of basically enforcing thugs, mercenary police forces. Like that is, you look it up and the word Pinkerton literally...
I think the term nowadays is private security, but...
In fact, how about this? This is a little sneak preview of the history. The Pinkertons logo is an eye, the never blinking eye. And supposedly the term private eye comes from the logo of the Pinkertons of their never blinking eye. And to this day, if you ever wondered what a PI, private eye, comes from, that's from the freaking Pinkertons from the 1800s, okay?
See, they're all investigators. Right? They're not rogues with the ruffian racket.
Believe it or not,
investigators.
Well, because they were freaking outlawed by the federal government. That's why it's like their history is incredible. Okay, so we'll go through a little bit of that because people. I'm
gonna follow a lead.
It's so ridiculous. And then we're gonna go into why WoTC's freaking out and why they're hiring the Pinkertons. And that is because for the first time, maybe ever, that I can remember, is that the Magic the Gathering crown is in serious jeopardy. And they're about to go up against Disney and their collectible card game. And let me tell you, that is all anyone is talking about. And it ain't the Magic the Gathering card game. It is becoming the hit of GAMA, which is a trade show that's happening right now. And I didn't go to it. I actually had tickets. I didn't even get my airfare back. I didn't even go. And here it is, the GAMA trade show. I got the book and everything, and they are showing demos. And here we go. Is that this is the hit of the show. And this is
Lorcana.
What everyone is talking about. And I mean, I've been hearing like people are losing their minds on this thing. And
no, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know that much about this game. Is it digital?
No,
it's paper. It's produced.
Yeah,
collectible.
Oh yeah.
Well,
it's collectible, and they have it that any of their cards can be foil and random. They're dedicated. They have already 2 years of cards, 4 sets per year designed, and supposedly the card game is very good. And the cards look beautiful.
I mean, I could say that I know a lot of people in my Magic the Gathering circles via Twitter, who are really, really enjoying Marvel Snap.
I love Marvel Snap. Love it. I'd play it constantly. So, yeah. And
I mean, so it sounds like they might have some talented design team. I wonder if I know any. Let's see.
2 of the designers are from Magic. Look at the 2 key designers. You know who they are. I forgot to look it up while we're talking.
I'm looking it up. Yeah.
They're in trouble. And suddenly WoTC is getting assaulted in every direction. It's like their 2 biggest moneymakers are D&D and Magic the Gathering, and D&D is getting assaulted by the community, and Magic the Gathering is getting assaulted by Disney, who, by the way, probably the modern day version of the Pinkertons, because they literally have their own private government in Florida. They have their own police force, they've owned everything. And they are the second largest buyer of military grade explosives after the US military. Believe it or not. This is insane, man. I was like, wow, this can't even get any better. It's like it's so much. There's a lot.
All right.
There's a lot.
So let's just provide some kind of context first for what we do know.
Yes.
And again, it's a developing story, so I'm sure there's some information that will come up. I first became aware of this about last week when a Magic the Gathering YouTuber, I think Old School MTG is the name of his channel. He received a box of cards, several boxes of cards from his friend, who said, "Hey, look at this cool new promo thing I got, and I thought you might want to take a look at it." And so he did an unboxing on his video or on his YouTube stream. And what it turned out is, again, just nerd out with me here a little bit. In Magic the Gathering lore, the one of the sort of the Borg of Magic the Gathering's multiverse are the Phyrexians, which are sort of infects you with sort of biological, mechanical essence. They sort of overcome you. You become part of the unity, and all will be one. And it's very Borg-like. Anyways, the current set,
they look awesome.
Yeah, they're very cool. They're like the synthesis of kind of cyborgy. It's very, very cool. And in the current set, March of the Machines, they've been building up to this big thing over several sets. The Phyrexians have invaded across the multiverse. There's battles occurring on all the different planes throughout the multiverse. All of your favorite heroes, some of which have been turned, they've been completed is the term. And now they are part of Team Evil. And so that's the current set. And as part of sort of a kickoff or sort of a send-off to this, they had announced that they were going to do a follow-up set called Aftermath. And this wasn't a draftable set. This was a mini set, which they really have not really done that often. And basically, it's just kind of for collecting, but the cards will be playable in certain formats. It's like 50 cards. All of them are done very nicely, and they'll be bought in these kind of exclusive packs. In fact, when March of the Machines, which came out a few weeks ago, but when they started doing releases, pre-releases for that, they showed one of these cards from Aftermath. So Aftermath has been designed for a while. This YouTuber got a hold of this, did the box opening. And I should point out, by the way, Aftermath hits store shelves May 12th. Mm-hmm. So that means in 2 weeks, right? And change. Previews were probably going to originally have started this week. So we're talking about somebody who got a hold of the cards through a friend, put them up on his YouTube channel a few days early. This has happened before in Wizards of the Coast history. We've had people who've taken photos like at the printing press, in the printing shops and sent them out to the internet. So This is on like the scale of like crazy leaks. It's pretty low. And for whatever reason, Wizards of the Coast lost their shit and they decided to forcibly get back the cards. And whether they directly hired this private security force called the Pinkertons agency, or some people have said maybe it might have been like they contracted somebody who contracted them. Several basically men in black showed up at this YouTuber's house. They demanded entry. They, kind of forced their way in. I mean, they apparently were allowed in, but like they then searched the house, took the cards, gave really no explanation of what was going on. And then they basically just left a card and said, you need to call this number immediately. And then they left. And they threatened this man and his wife with jail time, fines, the whole 9 yards if they didn't cooperate. These people, by the way, are not law enforcement officers. And then, that Wizards of the Coast didn't say anything about it, and everything like that. The YouTuber in question did contact Wizards of the Coast, and they were basically like, oh, yeah, sorry about that. If you could just take that video down, we'll let bygones be bygones.
Yeah, it's according to this, the latest Kotaku article is that the Pinkerton agents cited several statutes about copyright infringement and some other things threatening 1 to 10 years in jail and up to $200,000 in fines if I failed to cooperate. They also said if I didn't hand over the product, they would call the county sheriff and detain us until they arrived to arrest us and then search my house for the product, and they would then likely force us to show the receipts for every Magic card in the house, which is over 1 million cards.
Yeah.
Now, the Pinkertons are not a police force. They're not a federal agency. They're just dudes. They're a security firm. They have no more rights to show up at your house and say that than I do. Okay? I mean, they don't have this ability. I mean, other than the force of their name and intimidation tactics, and this is what they're known for, by the way. I mean, even the name Pinkerton, because people are like, why would you keep a name like Pinkerton, which has so much negative connotations in the history of America? Because it carries weight. and it's not a good weight. It's an intimidation weight.
It just seems like such a unbelievably heavy-handed move. Like, if like they had reached out to him and been like, hey, you need to take this down immediately, these aren't for public release, like, I'm 99.9% sure he would have been like, oh, I'm so sorry, my bad. Like, what do you want me to do with these cards? They might even been like, just keep them. like just, you know, we respect our thing. I mean, again, I cannot imagine why Wizards of the Coast, especially now, right?
After, well, that's the part that's unbelievable.
After everything that, you know, I mean, like the best joke is, what do people always say? And what do even the Wizards of the Coast D&D team say? You know, they go, don't worry. No one's going to be knocking down the door to your house and taking your player's handbook away from you. Right? Like,
you can't say that anymore.
I don't know if you can say that anymore, because this was insane. I mean, this was an insane action for any company to take. But for a company which has just made public misstep after public misstep, after PR nightmare after PR nightmare, this isn't a cherry on top. This is like a whole nother Sunday. Like, it's crazy to me how anyone there could have ever possibly thought that this was a great idea. And then if it was somehow a misunderstanding, why they didn't immediately release a press release and say, you know, Wizards of the Coast, we did not authorize this action. We contracted with an intermediary who hired the Pinkertons to fulfill out the after the investigation. It was never our intention to such and such and such and such. But they didn't say anything. In fact, I don't know that they have officially released any statement.
Well, it gets better.
Which is what I'm sure Linda Codega is going to try to dig into.
Yeah. The fun things is Hasbro's earnings call is this Thursday on top of it. So good timing. Right. Good timing, Hasbro. That's all I'm saying. I don't even know what's going on. In fact, I was thinking about it yesterday, because what I did yesterday when this came up, you mentioned it once, and I didn't really think anything of it. And then it came up again, and then I even posted my reaction. It's pretty much the exact same reaction I had when I heard about the OGL the very first time, way back when it was broken on our show. And I was like, come on. This can't be real. Like, it's too outlandish to be real. And yet it was real.
I brought this up yesterday because I, again, had known about this from a couple days because of Magic the Gathering community. And you were like, that can't possibly be real. You're like, you,
I know.
The drama king, as you called yourself, were like, there's no way that it is possible that this company could have done this. And yet somehow they did. And I cannot, again, if you don't play Magic the Gathering, I can't even begin to describe for you how not a big deal this is. Spoilers happen all the time. Nowadays they do pre-release. They show you previews of the cards sometimes weeks before the set even comes out. So for this set to quote unquote, and also this isn't a tournament legal set. We're past the days of like standard Pro Tour. Maybe some team gets an advantage. This is a kind of a collector's edition set. 15 cards, some micro sets, not for drafting. There's nothing here. I get it. They didn't want it to be released. That's fine. That's their right to do so. And the box ended up in the wrong person's hands. Fine. And it seems like they were blameless in this regard. Okay. So mistakes were made. But why would you go to this extreme?
Yeah.
Even if none of this OGL debacle had happened, it would have been a foolish decision. But on top of all the stuff, with them losing, quote unquote, confidence and faith with breaking faith with their customers, this is, in my opinion, this is bigger than the OGL. I'm actually serious about that.
Oh, I think so. And I just did some searching, and it's all over. It's starting to spread. Like it's all over the news. Like I'm starting to see it. Exactly what happened with the OGL is the OGL went from gaming news to mainstream news to financial news. And then that's when they had to really start paying attention, when it started to hit the mainstream. And I'm starting to see the same pattern in 24 hours. I'm already starting to see the pattern. I'm like, and you don't think this isn't going to come up with their earnings call in 2 days. Of course this is going to come up. And of course this is going to be mentioned because everyone's going to write about the earnings call and everyone's going to write about Hasbro. And it just takes one reporter to ask a question about the Pinkertons and then it's going to be in the report. I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, this cannot get... Well, I maybe Disney will just buy them out because at this point it's like it's gotten to the point of how much worse can they get? We had 2 super chats, Maceman94 for $4.99. The Pinkertons didn't work. Maybe WoTC could have gotten Blackwater.
Right. Because in case you want people with I don't know, assault
they're
rifles.
Real mercenaries.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. They're actually going in there. Yeah, I mean, I'm not okay. I don't want to overhype anything. These people did not break in the front door with a battering ram and come in there with AR-15s and Benelli shotguns or anything like that. But I consider myself a capable and confident man. If several armed individuals showed up at my front door wearing dark clothing and the whole thing and just knocked on my door, I would be like, okay, I'm shitting myself, right? Like,
well, guess what? I have a story for you that you're not going to believe.
Okay.
Is everyone ready? Everyone wants to listen to Steve's story hour. It's not going to be an hour. It's going to be 5 minutes. Maybe 3 to 5 minutes. Are you ready? This just happened to me. Swear to God. Honest God truth. Real story. Yesterday, while we're doing our stream, my wife was out and she was driving home, and we live near an expressway, and she's like, wow, there's a lot of traffic on the expressway. It was really weird. And I said, oh, what happened? He says, well, I was driving, and then there was a car, and the car on the side of the road, and it had like the airbags out, and it was crashed. And then I saw another car. And then I got off the exit, and there was another car. And so 3 cars in a row, all over the place, all crashed. And then in front of the car, there was police there, and guys with FBI jackets on the back. And Val's like, what the heck is going on? And I live right near the exit. So she asked him, like, what happened? He says, there's some fugitives out, and one of them got away on foot, and we're looking for him, and the other one was arrested, and there was like a high-speed chase on the highway and caused all these accidents. And they're looking for him. And my wife says, should I lock the door? And the police officer says, yes. You should. And we're like, okay. So we go home. She goes home. This is while we're recording. She tells me about this afterwards. There's helicopters flying around like above us, and there's cops around and everything. And so we think nothing of it. So last night, I had Agents of Edgewatch, our weekly show, my game, and we got on with those guys I just talked about at 8:00, and we started talking, and then we would play, and we would actually then stream at 9. So I started to, talking to them, and Val went out and got my son from tennis and came home. At 8:20, the doorbell rings. And Val's like, oh my God, the front door is open because she came in through the garage. She runs over to the front door. I'm like, who's ringing her doorbell at 8:20 at night? And it's dark outside. And she looks out the front door, and it's a guy in a black hoodie and fits the description of the guy we're looking for. She locks the door. She screams on top of her lungs, call 911, call 911. I'm like in the middle of this. I rip out my phone. I call 911. Val's calling 911. We're calling the police. I get on the police, and they're like, what's the emergency? I'm like, the guy you're looking for, he's here. And I give my address. And he says, we'll be right there. Click. Within 10 seconds, cops came. They got the guy. They arrested him. And there was 8 cop cars in front of my house. This all happened last night. And
wow, okay, yeah, wow. I got to be honest with you. I thought you were you're hyping me up for nothing. I was like, oh, okay, there was a fugitive on the loose. Okay, that's a reasonable story.
Wait, he came to my house and rang the door, and then the cops come up after. So then they shows up, and I talked to the captain of police, the chief.
Did your wife go to the door, or did she see it like on a ring?
She went to the door. She didn't look at the ring because our door was open, so she went to the door and locked it and looked out and saw him there. And the story says he actually was armed afterwards, which is Anyhow, I mean, so you're talking about...
Did he knock?
He rang the doorbell. Yeah, he rang our doorbell. And I heard it go off, and our dogs went crazy. So then the cops came, and they talked to me. He was this is who ended up talking to me last night. This is all before my game, which we then played with a pretty intense game after that. And by the way, they came this close to a TPK. Okay, this close, all right? It was like...
There was almost 2 crimes that night.
There almost was. It was... half of the party got... baleful polymorph to rabbits, and the other half died, and only one of them saved everyone by carrying the rabbits out and dragging the dead guy with them, and then managed to save them. It was an incredibly intense night on many fronts.
Nothing says D&D or Pathfinder like dragging the corpse of one of your friends behind you while scuffling up 2 rabbits in the other one.
And who are also your friends, and one of them is dead, by the way.
Oh, sorry. Dead rabbit.
One live rabbit, and one dead friend. That's Pathfinder, baby. So the local police came to talk to me, the county police, the FBI, and the Secret Service.
Wow. Question.
Yes.
Did he escape from like a prison or like a...
Actually, so then afterwards, and those cops thanked me. They were so happy because they're like, I guess people like us just don't really do that. I guess, or people don't want to get involved, but they were like, thank you for helping us find him. Everyone was like shaking our hands and patting us on the back. And I was like, wow, this is pretty nice. Like a hero. There's a couple press releases that came out. Everyone's been calling. We just had some friends visit us and gave us some cookies and stuff. We're like the heroes of the neighborhood. It's
right. Your neighbors, I'm sure, are like, okay, nobody's egging that house for years.
Seriously.
We're not going to make any rude comments about how horrible your holiday decorations are, Stephen.
I was thinking about it. I might, you know what? It's like I don't have anything near me. Like I don't have a baseball bat, but I got the player's handbook, the core rule book, which is like, 3 inches thick. I might have to use that as a freaking weapon. Or I guess I could have just brought out Stormbringer, but it probably looks a little too fake as a sword. But that was nuts. And I mean, thank God the guy didn't. I mean, he could have just broken in. The door was open. He could just open the door. I mean, who knows? We do have 2 dogs. One of them would lick you to death. The only thing I'm thinking is like one of our dogs is very protective of my wife, to the fact that this dog attacks me and my son like constantly. Like if you go anywhere near her, she goes nuts, and she's bitten me more than once. And I was like, if he did anything, this dog would probably tear this guy to pieces. Okay. And she's pretty vicious. So I was like, okay, that's the one good thing, is like we did have 2 dogs, and one of them is very, very, very protective. And would go nuts. If anything, they're scary when they go crazy.
Well, that is actually an insane story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think you're not going to have to like, did you have to file like an official statement? Do you have to go anywhere?
No. We don't have to do anything. No, we had nothing. And then my friends last night, they said, well, I guess you leveled up tonight.
Hold on a sec.
What?
There we go. There we go.
You got the sound effects.
Yeah, I gotta have the sound effects.
Which again leads us back to
speaking of other criminal activity.
No, but like, because you're thinking the weirdest part is before this happened. This is what we're talking about. It's like, what would you do if these guys showed up on your doorstep?
Oh, sure.
And
then
someone,
I guess,
literally showed up on my door. Literally showed up on my doorstep.
Yeah.
A literal fugitive. This isn't a joke. This wasn't like, and so now I know. I called the police. They were actually 1 block away, and they got here they were in here 10 seconds. They said they were actually 1 block away in an unmarked car. And so when I got the call, they literally they zipped over here down and just got him. So
so when they showed up, was he just still sitting at your front door, or was he like in
They got him on
yard?
my driveway. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have pictures. I have pictures of them arresting him on my driveway.
Oh, I mean, all's well that ends well. Obviously the man is innocent until proven guilty, but it's still a pretty cool story,
So, yes, that's what I said. I'm like, we had a lot of excitement. I told you I had excitement today. That was nuts. Stop being Canadian and lock your door going forward,
I saw
Stephen.
That was pretty good.
What ended up happening is my wife went to go pick up my son, and she left and didn't lock the door. And then when she came back in, she went through the garage. So normally we have the door locked all the time.
Right.
So.
I do that sometimes. But...
Yeah. So that was just an accident.
Right,
well, I'll tell you, last night we turned on the alarm. And made sure every door and window was locked. And did he drop any good loot? No, no loot. He didn't even have shoes on. The guy didn't even have shoes. Supposedly, all he did was steal a car. Like him and his buddy stole a car from someone's driveway. And that's it. But then I think it escalated because then he got on a high-speed chase on the highway and smashed up a whole bunch of cars and then got away on foot. So it just kept escalating. It's like, well, first it was just he stole a car. Then it was a hot pursuit. Then they started to change counties. And towns. Then he was on the expressway and caused multiple accidents. Then he ran. And so it's like...
Right, you just put yourself into infinite trouble there.
Yeah, it just was getting worse and worse.
Well, that's pretty crazy. I mean, Cheese of Asia said, imagine if you had fought him off with your CRB. I mean, I'll tell you this: if I was going up against somebody and they were armed, and I had to go into that fight with just one RPG book.
That would be it.
Pathfinder Second Edition CRB might be. Now there are heavier books I have. There are thicker books.
I have a couple big ones. I
feel like
Kingmaker right here.
Yeah, but they become a little bit too big, right? They become unwieldy. The CRB is just the right size for bludgeoning.
I got my Poltos. I got my Drow book here. I got Kingmaker. I got the core rule book. I got a lot of big boys right here, baby. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, I do pride myself. I do have just not a fact true. I have 3 black belts. I used to be heavy into karate for a very, very long time. I've not practiced it actively in about 10 years. I can probably still throw a punch. I can probably still defend myself. But at the end of the day, do you really want to? You know, back when I was younger, I used to.
In fact, I as a kid and as a teenager, I was involved in competitive taekwondo, mostly.
You and I have talked about this.
Yeah, tournament level stuff.
Yeah, I did.
But I mean, there was a degree of self-defense there as well. I'll be the first to admit that most modern day taekwondo is more focused on the sport of taekwondo than the actual self-defense element of it. But regardless, I remember that my my instructor, my sensei was, he after taught us all this stuff, and he said, just remember that if somebody has a knife or even if they don't, and they want your wallet or they want you just give it to them.
Oh yeah,
right. Like you only fight when the alternative is to give them your life, and then you won't give them that. So I'm.
If this guy went in my car and it's like just he had a gun, I'd say fine. Here's the keys. Go. Like I would not have fought him. But if he got into the house and then got out of hand, then it's like okay.
But what you're telling me is that the Pinkerton showed up to commandeer your acquired goods. You would fight them.
Good luck, baby.
So. By the way, a couple of things I just want to point out, which this is pretty much common knowledge, but like if somebody sends you something in the mail, and it's a mistake and you open it, that's not illegal. Like if it's addressed to you and sent to you and you open it, that's not illegal. If it's not addressed to you, that is illegal. But if something comes to my house that says Derik Melinda and some company mistakenly sent it to me, sorry. Like that's not against the law for me to open that.
Yeah.
And in most cases, it's basically kind of assumed that it's mine. And from what I heard,
and I spoke to some people today about this, some sources, is that this was an honest mistake because there's 2 versions of the Brothers War, and they just sent the wrong one, and they suppose it was an actually honest mistake because WoTC is making this difficult because they basically are coming out with 3 or 4 versions of the same freaking box sets with slight differences.
Right. Well, they've been doing this now for years, and it's even this set is the current set is called March of the Machines, and the next set is called March of the Machines : Aftermath. So technically, like it even kind of has the same name, and then there's different variations and versions of this: premium, set boosters, collector's boosters. There's like 5 different ways to cut it. They all have kind of the same name on the packaging. And, it's a crazy mistake that could happen all the time because of their own systems and structures. The fact that the distributor sent it to this person, the distributors already have these cards. Like, I promise you, like, I haven't looked because I don't really care, but there were probably already spoilers out there. You know, now, yes, somebody did opening them on stream and visually, verifying all the cards, but it's like,
and look,
yes, again, it's not great, but it's like, why go to this extreme?
Let me tell you, this video game world, same thing. There were, the street dates and when video games would come out. There was a place in Manhattan, and they would sell you whatever they got whenever they got it. They couldn't care less about street dates, and I would go there all the time, and I would get things a week or two before they came out, and it was like, back in the day, you just went there, and when they got it, they started to sell it, and Lord knows, I don't know why they were never like shut down or whatever, but they just always did it, and it was great. And if you go on the boards, the message boards back in the day, you would be like, oh, I got Batman Arkham Asylum, and like, oh, where'd you get it from? Right. I got back a Batman Arkham Asylum early because I saw it at Best Buy, and I knew the street date, and it was out a week early, and I'm like, okay, and I bought it.
Yeah.
Honest mistake.
Also, by the way, just as kind of an example of this, though, innocent, the damage was done, right?
Yeah.
That's spilt milk, right? That's water under the bridge. The guy opened the cards on his stream. Everyone saw them. Everyone had screen caps of them. They're on a million different Reddit posts. They're on a million different websites. Everyone had them. So that cat is out of the bag.
Yeah.
Now, if I got control of the cards and I made this big hype post of, hey guys, I got an early pre-release that I wasn't supposed to get. I'm going to be doing this crazy live stream this Friday. I'm going to open the cards up and show everybody. Then it's like, okay, yeah, maybe you try to prevent that, with a call. I don't know. That's how normal human beings interact. But like, the damage is done there. You can't put that back. So what does this? Hey. Were they really that concerned about him having 50 Magic cards? I doubt it. It cost them 5 cents. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Well, so like, I can't imagine why they would even care about this, because the damage of having these cards was spoiling them. Yeah. They were spoiled, and that was out there. Yeah. So I just.
So Rage of Promise N for $5 said, just got into Magic the Gathering. All the product confuses me. It does. It confuses. It confuses me too, because when I was covering. And that's, by the way, I think our second or third most popular video I ever did, by the way, is I explained how WoTC is turning into Zynga, and use the Lord of the Rings Magic set as an example, using physical cards as a Zynga type mentality. And it's so confusing how it's like they have so many different types of sets and then subsets, and then like, it's like sets of subsets. I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? I just want to buy some cards, And that's also a bet. That's when you're in trouble. That's when you have to start releasing like 5 variations of something. Like, that's obviously a money grab. There's no other reason to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think what it comes down to is they want to find their buyer at every price point,
It is. No, you're 100% right, but it's creating a collectible market out of nothing. It reminds
of course,
me of NFTs. It's like okay, you're just making a demand out of demand. Yes. I don't know if that's going to work anymore.
I mean, look, if the collector is willing to pay, then yes. I mean, like, Magic recently,
you have to find someone willing to buy it. It's one of those, the collector, yes, but
yeah, I'm just saying, like, they recently introduced the serialized cards, which Magic had never done before, like limited edition cards. Mm-hmm. 1 of 100, 1 of 500. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with that. It's a collectible card game. It's fine if that's what people want. If people want to spend $27 a pack to buy a pack of Magic cards, I'm okay with that. That's fine. But like, yeah, just the artificial, just like, we're going to just print product. That's what I don't really like about. Couple of things. Ezekiel said, didn't meaning Old School MTG, the YouTuber that this all is about, didn't he say he was sent like 22 of these boxes? Yeah, he got like, I don't know if it's 22, but I think I recall him saying in his video that he had at least several, and he opened up several boxes because in order to show all 50, he had to open up a certain number of packs because there were duplicates and repeats and stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
By the way, the gamer wrote here, I'm looking at some of the articles, and it says sending Pinkerton after the Magic the Gathering leaker is the worst thing WoTC has ever done. And actually talks about what you said, regardless of how you feel about leaks, Wizards' response was a massive overstep of corporate power.
Yeah.
And basically going on what you said, it's like, this is so overkill to the point that it's comically ridiculous
and pointless. I think that's the most important part about all this. And I see someone in the chat, A. Whitney says, do we know who hired the Pinkerton firm? I wasn't sure if it was WoTC directly or not.
Supposedly it is, because they had a WoTC. They had a business card, and then afterwards they gave them the business card of WoTC. So
they did. That's true. I mean, they were acting, whether or not there was an intermediary, and there may very well have been. The fact is, they were acting as agents of Wizards of the Coast. They were there as their sort of duly. They had enough legal authority to be able to present, this person with a card and say, we're here on behalf of Wizards of the Coast to reclaim the property that you stole. And it's like, I'm sorry, what? And again, I see a lot of people going, I would have told that person to screw off and go get a warrant. Talk is cheap when you're behind the
cheap,
keyboard.
Let me tell you. Yeah, you say talk is cheap, but I'm going to tell you, as someone who literally just lived through this last night. Now, I was a little distracted because my friends were in like a chat, and they're all like writing this out like it would be a movie. And it would have like Val and my son like fighting off the attackers, and I'm literally the guy in the other room streaming with my friends playing Pathfinder. Like, what's going on over there, honey? Like, I had no idea what was going. I'm not the gallant husband. I'm the one who had no idea what was going on. She was screaming. My son couldn't sleep. He was up till 2 a.m, scared. My dogs were freaked out. Val literally just left. She said, I'm locking the door on the way out. Like you say that, but it's another thing to have those people literally show up at your door.
Right. And also too, this person obviously wasn't aware that they were doing anything malicious or wrong. They obviously did not have any sort of ill intentions. And so most people want to do right by what they perceive to be a legitimate authority. And these people had all the trappings, right, of legitimate authority. But the fact of the matter is they didn't. And while old school MTG and his family may not have been fully aware of that, the fact is Wizards of the Coast was counting on that. Wizards of the Coast was counting on this person not being like, get the hell off my property, you don't have a warrant, right? Here's the thing. I didn't really even know that much about the Pinkertons. I didn't play Red Dead Redemption. I'm not from the Northeast. So my knowledge of them is fairly limited.
Let's go through the history of the Pinkertons. I'm going to give you guys the Cliff Notes version. I actually do know the history pretty well, but I did a refresher for myself. I lived in Pittsburgh for 5 years, so the Pinkertons Pittsburgh is the home of unions, and let me tell you, everything there, they love unions, and I mean love unions. And I was there. There was a lot of union strikes. There was a lot of things going on. And you can still see and hear, and there's people whose families, because Pittsburgh is very much a steel town, community town. A lot of families live there.
Very blue collar.
Very blue collar. Not so much now, believe it or not. It's very white collar. Right. There's a lot of people there who's had family that were affected by the Pinkertons directly. So I did grow up in my college years knowing a lot about them. So basically, quick history, Pinkertons formed in the 1850s. They were a security firm, and they actually started off pretty good. They helped, they had the first female detective ever that helped foil an assassination attempt against Abraham Lincoln. And in fact, that's their biggest claim to fame. What?
Picked the wrong one.
Well, true. But they did, they were big proponents of the Underground Railroad, helped form it and helped usher it, and were heavily on the side of the Union. So they actually have a pretty interesting background because they were very, very pro-union and pro-government, and they were pretty good in the beginning.
Right.
Eventually, that changed. And by the way, and that's where the I came from, because they had to keep Lincoln safe, so they had to stay up all night, and then they got a lot of press after that, and that's where they had We Never Sleep, and they came out with the unblinking eye, which is their logo. It actually still is their logo to this day, and that's presumably where the term private eye and private investigator comes from is because of the Pinkertons. They were also spies on the Union side. They had all this stuff. Back in the 1800s, there was no such thing as police forces. These things did not exist. There was no such thing as federal governments like the FBI or the CIA or the NSA. None of this existed, okay? There was thugs and there was...
well, you had sheriffs.
It's sheriffs, but it was all very local. Everything was local, which made sense because no one ever went past 30 miles past their house, okay? No one did. It was very rare. So everything was very local back then. There was no such thing as national. And then the Pinkertons started to get pretty big. In the 1890s, they had 32,000 men, 2,000 detectives, and 30,000 reserves. They were actually bigger than the U.S. Army. They were used mostly by robber barons and steel workers to break up unions,
You mean steel owners?
Steel owners, yes, steel owners, sorry. To break up unions, they would be spies. What they would often do is they would go in, they would join the forces, they would be spies in the workers, and then they would cause riots, or whenever there was confrontations, the Pinkertons would actually then fight the other side and say, see, they're violent. And this was all staged, okay? I'm giving you a very, very quick history, but they were bad guys, and really bad guys, and they were very powerful to the point that they were the law. They literally were the law, and they got so out of control that Ohio passed a law banning the Pinkertons from the state of Ohio, which could also be why you've never heard of them, Derik.
Well, there you go. Maybe,
well, you don't know that much about it. And after the Homestead Act in 1892, which you can read about, but basically, long story short, is Carnegie hired Frick to break up the union. They fired every single worker, hired non-worker people, and then the workers who were all fired took over the steel mills. They sent the Pinkerton army to take the steel mill back, and then a war broke out, and they literally were burning down each other's buildings. People were fighting and getting killed. It's insane. It's something you learn in school, especially if you're from the Northeast. It's like a big part of history.
Yeah.
In 1893, there was the Federal Anti-Pinkerton Act, which made them basically illegal, and the FBI and the CIA were formed around that time using the Pinkertons as the basis of their operations. So our modern-day law enforcement structure is based off the Pinkertons, which is
Yeah, I saw somebody in chat say that they basically invented mugshots.
They've invented everything. Almost a lot of these things that you see today in law enforcement were invented by the Pinkertons. And they were used because once Pinkerton, the guy who started it, died, they eventually just got sold out as mercenaries and to the highest bidder. And so they were often being used as just muscle. And back then, in the Wild West, back in the 1900s, there was no real laws. I mean, it was very easy for these guys to go in and, you saw that stuff with the Al Capone era, and it was crazy back then. And that's why in Red Dead Redemption 2, they're the bad guys and they're everywhere and they're very powerful because that's what they were like. That's accurate. They were everywhere. They were very powerful. They were more powerful than the army. They were considered the most powerful police force in the world, or force, if you will, whatever you want to call them. Since then, they've kind of scaled back. They became more of a detective agency. Sure. They were bought by a Swedish firm, I believe. But they still are now hired as security, and they're used, well, you don't want to know what they're used for. They're used mostly for anti-union busting right now for Amazon and Google and other things like that. Yeah. So they're still pretty bad guys.
Absolutely. And there could be no doubt that history, that legacy was present with Wizards of the Coast with these people, because they it's one thing to have people come get the cards. It's another thing to have and hire a firm that is built on this history of intimidation and strong arm tactics to get back your quote property. And for no particular purpose or reason, because the spoilers are already out there. So all I could think of is that there is a concerted effort of a dedicated group of a select few individuals, a rebel alliance, if you will, within Wizards of the Coast that's trying to take it down from the inside. It's the only way that any of this makes sense, Stephen. It's the only way. Okay, they're what they are trying to do is sink the brand and the company from within, lowering its value enough that a hostile takeover can occur and someone can then divest and buy out WoTC from Hasbro. That's my thought.
I wouldn't be surprised that, you're saying it's a rebel group and you're being a little snarky, but
I'm being snarky.
But not really, because where do you think I'm getting information from, baby? I mean, where do you think Linda Codega is getting their information from and other people like me?
That's true. There are definitely, I'm sure, some... I mean, because, again, I don't want to...
I mean, I don't want to get anyone in trouble, but let me tell you...
Yeah, what I'm saying is I don't want to... Well, no, I don't want to necessarily, put lawful good alignments or chaotic good alignments on the people who work at Wizards of the Coast, but I've had an opportunity to meet some of them, particularly some of the older members of the D&D team from their times back with 3rd edition and 4th edition.
Well, half the team is now ex-WoTC people, and I know all of them. They're very nice.
Right.
They're great people.
And I at a fundamental level, I believe that they do care about the game. And I got to imagine that when they wake up and read that their company sent armed thugs to someone's doorstep to seize property that was accidentally, kind of almost legally, sent to them, they have to be sitting there feeling absolutely horrible inside. They have to feel so revolted and disgusted and so disappointed.
Oh, yeah. Who wants to work for... I mean, I know people here who work for cigarette companies and, for Philip Morris. And you know how they how they sleep at night? They got paid a lot of money. Okay. Yeah. They get paid. My friends who worked here, they got paid a ton of money. And I have friends who work in, we'll just say in New York, places you probably don't want to work. And the way they're able to sleep at night, they get paid very, very well, extraordinarily well. And that's how that works. I guarantee the people in these companies...
I'm not going to debate the merits of free market capitalism.
Yeah, no. But my point is, I guarantee the people who watching these people, they're not getting paid these type of salaries. It's not worth it.
Well, because in theory, they're not doing. They're making games that people love.
They're making games,
right?
So instead, they're like, "Oh, we're making games."
How do you sell your soul for that? No, you don't. You're living your passion, your dream. Arguably, you're being taken advantage of and exploited because of your passion for the subject material. But it's outside of any of this, how can one company just keep shitting the bed this badly over and over and over again? It's it feels like a concerted effort at this point. It really is insane.
Well, and it's funny. You said to me yesterday, because I said, let's talk about this. You're like, how much more can we talk about this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to listen.
We can talk about this for a while.
To be absolutely clear, let me be absolutely clear. None of this affects you. Right, the viewer. We're going to just keep playing our games. And if Wizards of the Coast explodes tomorrow, we're just going to keep playing games. You could keep playing Wizards of the Coast games.
Yes.
Or you could go buy one of 1,000 competitors. It's totally fine. And so, yes, there's a little bit of hype in the drama here. There's a little bit of selling the drama. But it is one of those things where it's this is a company that I have been very involved with for a long time on both sides of the Magic and the D&D side. And it's just fascinating to see something that you are so familiar with and that you are so involved with just make the most horrible possible decisions that you could possibly imagine a group ever making, and ask yourself, why? What are they trying to do here? And I think Mar Hawkman says WoTC has terrible leadership, and I think at the end of the day, this all boils up to the people at the top. And it's one of those unfortunate situations, right, where the people at the top make all the money because they're, quote, the ones responsible, yet somehow they're never the ones held responsible. It always seems to work that way. But it comes back to, are they feeling threatened? I don't know. They just had like the 2 best years of their company's the brand's entire life. The president of Wizards of the Coast got promoted to the CEO of Hasbro because of incredible market returns on his management of the Wizards of the Coast, sub brand or sub channel. Are they really, to your point about the Disney and they're afraid of Disney coming for the throne? Like, how does this stop that?
No idea. Well, not only that, it's like this just adds another meme. It's like one thing gamers love more than anything else. If you think about it, half of your Pathfinder and D&D games is you basically talking memes or you talking movie quotes. You're going to be hearing the word Pinkerton forever now. Like it's just it's like, oh, what are they going to do? Take my books away? Yeah, they are. Like,
right. I mean, that's what we said at the beginning of the stream. I see GM Scott and Chris Cobb are both making the same joke, but it's like, it's like, I mean, obviously that is still a joke, but it's like, there's actually a degree of truth to it now. Like Wizards of the Coast somehow finds some loophole. And they go, no. The OGL does make owning all copies of these books is now contraband. We are going to come to your house. Or like if somebody gets onto like D&D Beyond and they shut it down, but then they say, oh, I'm just keeping it locally. And they're like, no, that's our intellectual property. You can't have that on your server, your personal home server for your use. We're sending people there to take your hard drives. We're sending people there to like, what are they doing here? It's so stupid. Like, don't they have any idea of how the modern day environment works? It's all about, your PR. It's all about how you're viewed by the community. And we live in the era of cancel culture, and you could say that the cancel culture era is bad in general, and I think it is, but that's the truth. I mean, you can't deny the fact that like when people make mistakes, people get pretty crucified for them. But to go out of your way to make just like an epic string of horrible mistakes seems completely mind-boggling to me. And so either there is just inept, complete mismanagement at every level of that company, or like I said, there is a concerted effort to take it out from within.
Whatever. Anyhow, so we have a couple of let's see, Billy Helms for $2 says Derik's smooth voice AF and Stephen need a son. I don't know what that means.
Well, I think he's saying do you need another son? Billy will apparently be your son.
Oh, okay. Creative Burst.
Thank you, Billy.
For $5, there you go. For $5 says, isn't Pokemon the biggest collectible card game, even though even being the top of the hobby market, not just mass market, so hasn't Magic already lost the crown? Actually, you're right. So Pokemon is the biggest of everything, by the way. They're bigger than anyone of all time. They're actually the biggest brand in the history of the world. So yes, they did lose the crown, but in a weird way, the Magic the Gathering crowd and the Pokemon crowd don't have that much overlap in a lot of ways. They're very different hobbyists. And if anything, Pokemon can be seen as a gateway to Magic. So I don't think of them as direct competitors. I think of them as almost...
It's also the case that, and I've seen, because obviously I'm involved in this environment, a lot of the Pokemon people are not players. They are just strictly collectors. Now, there are collectors for Magic the Gathering that don't play is very small. There are a ton of people who have no idea of how to even play Pokemon, but buy Pokemon, buy all the things. It's strictly for them a collectible thing. Pokemon might as well be a baseball card in terms of its, use and efficacy. It's just a piece of cardboard that's collectible. So the game of Magic the Gathering, in terms of like the size of the community and like the number of people that are actively engaged in playing it, I think that is probably still number one.
Yeah.
But in terms of sales, Pokemon is bigger.
Yeah. So that leads me to what is on the cover of this.
Also, can I tell you the thing I hate the most about the Pokemon TCG?
Yeah, what do you hate? I know nothing about it. I've never played it.
Okay. So. It's pretty simple, right? Your Pokemon have everybody has hit points, and they just add an extra 0 to it because why not?
Yes.
And like you could just get rid of the 0 and it wouldn't make a difference, but whatever. And the Pokemon have different attacks that you can use on your opponent's Pokemon, and you have to attach energy cards to your Pokemon in order to do those attacks. And then once an opponent's Pokemon is taken out, they bring another Pokemon off the bench, and you get a prize card. And your opponent, I think, I could get this wrong, but they have 4 or 5 prize cards. These are cards from your deck that you put face down before the game starts. And as you take out your opponent's Pokemon, you get to add them to your hand. The reason I don't like this is a snowball win more mechanic. It means if I am in a position where I am doing well, which means I am able to attack and take out your Pokemon, aka I'm on the offense. I have the advantage. I am winning the game. I'm taking out your Pokemon. Then the game then says, okay, we're going to reward you by giving you even more cards, which in almost any TCG game is a primary resource. It's like you're ahead because you're winning. We're going to make you more ahead.
That's called the win more button.
Yeah, win more. What it should be is the opposite.
Right.
When you take out your opponent's Pokemon,
catch up.
They should draw a card.
Yeah.
Because it should be a catch-up mechanic to try to keep the game competitive and interesting. Yeah. Yep. Anyways.
Yeah, it's like bad design. It's almost like I'm a game designer here. Anyhow.
Bad design.
So if you are not aware, Disney announced their new collectible or trading card game.
None of this matters because Disney's coming out with a card game. And
Lorcana is coming out, and now I follow Disney pretty heavily. I'm a big Disney. I wouldn't say fanatic, but I find their company fascinating, and I was brought up on going to Disney World as a young kid quite a bit. I've been there many times. I used to really be into amusement parks. I just find the company is fascinating on a lot of ways. Things have changed in the last 20 years significantly, but they used to not be quite as horrible and evil as they are now. But they see...
Okay, let's start from that. Are they horrible and evil?
They're pretty bad. They're pretty bad in a lot of ways. But
like in what way?
In what way?
Yeah. Again, I know very little. Let's preface this. Let's preface this. Derik has never been to Disney World or Disneyland.
Wow.
Okay. Derik, probably the last Disney animated film I saw was probably animated. I guess they don't do animated films anymore.
Yes, they do. Sort of.
Like I probably, I grew up during I was like, 8, 9, 10 during the quote Disney's golden era of animation, right?
Okay.
Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Pocahontas, Lion King, right? I was like the target, audience for that. And then I, grew up and stopped watching Disney movies. I think I saw Frozen, and that's probably about it. So I don't really know. I don't care about Disney. I've never been to Disney.
All right.
I have friends, grown men, who go there with their wives and their kids, and they're just as pumped, if not more so, to go to Disney than the kids are.
Yes, they are. Yeah, that's a big
deal.
It's
always, by the way, I've always been sort of confused about why kids even care about Disney. They go to Disney, and it's Daffy Duck and Mickey Mouse and Pluto or whatever. Characters who haven't been in a freaking TV show or movie in 60 years. Who do these kids even care about these people? It seems completely crazy to me. Anyway.
So, again, a lot of history here. Let's see. I'm going through my history in my head. The quick, interesting history of Disney. And Disney I can talk about for years. This is where it came from. Basically, they had Disneyland in California, and the whole part is they wanted to come out with the Disney, come out with an amusement park, came out with Disney World. I won't go into the whole history, but where it starts getting interesting is when they went to Florida and they decided to build Disney World, and they bought the land, which was nothing but swampland in the middle of Florida for 49 cents an acre, which even back then is damn cheap. And they bought up millions and millions of acres. I think it's something like 42 square miles. It's gigantic. Okay. They have it's, when they mean Disney World, it is a world. If you see how big it is, if you want to maybe look it up while I'm talking, And they have basically a municipality in the middle of Florida. Now, remember, back in the 60s, when air conditioning wasn't everywhere, and people were just starting to get air conditioning and even indoor toilets and stuff in the middle of nowhere, because Florida is a little bit more backwater back in the 60s than you might think. Sure. No one wanted to be there, okay? This was not like what it is now, which is...
Right, I mean, it's right, Florida and the desert Southwest never became habitable until the invention of air conditioning.
Yeah, and basically. More importantly, the number, if you look right now, it's like I think the number 1 through 10 most moved to cities in America are all in Florida. Okay, Florida has really gotten out of control, and it's exploding in popularity. They had special permission from the government to run 40 square miles. I was close. 42. I said 42. 40 square miles. I'm doing this all from memory, so I might be wrong on some of the stuff.
That's insane, though, by the way.
It is. They 25,000 acres. It gets more insane. Are you ready? They got special government compensation. I think it was 1962. Let's see how good my memory is on this.
This part I'm aware of because I know about the recent spat between Disney and DeSantis.
Right.
Because they basically said, look, we want to develop faster than your slow-ass local governments can possibly handle. So we want to be able to basically have our own zoning board, our own zoning commission.
No. They had it. This was already in the law. It's not that they didn't have it. Let's go back. If you go down to Disney World, okay, when you drive into Disney World, you've never been there, so I'm going to explain it, and it's a big deal.
By the way, Jess is giving you shit. She says, I can't believe you have Derik to talk about Disney, Stephen. I'm literally in Florida.
Oh, Jess, I didn't know you were in Florida. Jess, I thought you were in Canada.
She says right now, so maybe she's just visiting.
Jess, I could have had you on. You want to come on? You can come on, Jess. If you're available, I'll quickly make a third person for you. I love you, Jess. You can come on anytime you want. And aren't you recording with Lauren right now or something? Anyhow, they had a special dispensation to make their own world. They have a fiefdom in Florida. This is real. Okay, when you're driving, you'll see all the federal signs and everything, and then you go into Disney World, everything changes. It's like going to another country. The highway signs change. The highway changes. Everything changes. It is a new country you are in. No joke. And you notice it. You're like, wow, I am not in the United States anymore. I am in Disney World. And you feel it. They have their own power plants. They have their own water treatment. They have their own police force. They have their own everything. They have their own electricity. They own everything. If the United States was knocked out, Disney World will still exist. It is completely self-sufficient. Completely. Okay? They even have their own cities and towns. What's it called? I've actually been there many times, and it was one of the best Italian restaurants I ever went to in my life was there. Is it Freedom, Florida, or Liberation, Florida? I forgot the name of the town. They have all these electric cars there. It is unbelievable. So anyhow, because they have their own board, that's correct, DeSantis decided that, well, you guys are Celebration. Thank you. Celebration, Florida, Jess. That's right. Celebration, Florida is a weird place, but really good food. And it's like its own town that's run by Disney. Literally run by Disney.
It's like the old school company towns.
It is a company town. In fact, It's not an old school company town. It's still a company town because I had friends in college who used to work at Disney in the summer, and what they did.
Oh, it sounds like some Illuminati New World Order shit. That's all it sounds like.
No, because this is what happened. You were paid crap, but if you went like Tuesday nights, they had the movie nights, and the movies were 5 cents if you're a Disney employee. It's a freaking company town. Like everything there, like they had special nights for the Disney employees. So it was a company town. Like you literally were paying less if you went to the company owned facilities. This is still in existence, by the way. This isn't like 50 years ago. This is today. Okay. It is weird, this place. Anyhow, DeSantis said, hey, I don't want this anymore. I'm not getting into politics, but very long story short, he didn't want this like private fiefdom.
We can get into it. Disney supported LGBTQ rights, and DeSantis was trying to trample them, and DeSantis was trying to trample, reproductive rights and all this other stuff. And Disney basically took a firm stance and said, no.
Then he tried to take it away, but they couldn't take it away because they own billions of dollars in municipal bonds, and in the law, in the term, the way it's written out is that if Florida takes over.
They take over the bonds.
They take over the bonds, and they didn't have the money. They actually don't have the money because Florida doesn't have any taxes. So there's no money for them to actually take over these bonds. And what ended up happening is, I don't know, he somehow figured out some legal loophole or having someone pay for them. I don't know.
DeSantis, they basically gave the middle finger to DeSantis, and DeSantis...
Well, no, he took it over, but then what they did is...
No, but I'm saying DeSantis decided to say, oh yeah, Disney World? Well, I'll show you.
Well, he did. He then dissolved it. But then publicly with DeSantis, what Disney did is they had public hearings that were in the newspaper that they voted to basically keep all the rights within Disney and all the development rights forever.
It's like that scene from the end of Batman Begins, the Christopher Nolan one.
Yes.
Where the guy is conspiring to take the company public.
Right.
And to take Bruce Wayne out of it. But then Bruce Wayne ends up buying all of the shares of the company anyways. And so he's the owner of it forever. It's like the same thing. Disney's like, fine, we'll put it up and then they just stacked the council with just all these pro-Disney people.
It was heavy pro-Disney. And then it took them two meetings.
Because they're not idiots. Well, I can't even imagine how much money or how many people that employs and how much revenue that generates for the state. No.
It's for the world. I mean, it's not even this. It's about $80 billion a year.
It's some insane number.
It's ridiculous. Long story short, they took them 2 meetings for them to even find out that they had no power. And then they're like, what? And then, of course, Disney, with their army of talk about the world's opposite. This is why this is so interesting. This is the exact opposite of WoTC. Like, WoTC keeps making mistake after mistake after mistake. Disney, they are so far ahead. They have beyond the best lawyer. They have the best everything. So and they know they have the best everything. They totally.
So let's ask the real question.
Yes.
Would Disney make a good RPG?
Yeah, they would.
If they made an RPG and they called it Fantasia.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Fantasia, the RPG. And it's this idea of a world of magic and exploration.
I'm going to tell you why. Because they're going to put the money, if they want to, and they put the money behind it, they will not fool around. Again, I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm just using my own life experiences. I worked for Disney. I did the Timon and Pumbaa website, and I did Timon and Pumbaa interstitials for them. Back in the day. They were great to work with. I actually had no problem working with Disney. I had no problems with their lawyers. My lawyer and their lawyer got along great. And they were fantastic to work with as a professional level. Now, this is Disney Interactive, so I did not work with any, it's a gargantuan company. They were awesome, and I loved working with them because they got it, man. Like, everyone I worked with was like, they were on the ball. They're exact opposite of like what WoTC seems to be doing, is where they have like the wrong people running those divisions. Everyone I worked with were people who got everything I was doing, which was interstitial video games on a website that was tied into their Saturday morning cartoons. They got it. Everyone there got it. It was easy to work with them. With that experience, I'm going to answer your question and say, yes, they would probably get good people to make that game.
Yeah. I mean, I listen, I agree. I'm just saying, like, I don't know much about the company. I mean, obviously what I have seen from them is that growing up, it was like, oh, look, here's the company that makes the cartoons. And then somehow in the span of 5 years, they suddenly owned Marvel and Lucasfilm. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And on one hand, the Marvel Cinematic Universe was a delight, and I enjoyed almost every movie, although the last ones in Phase 5 have been shitty.
Terrible. Yeah.
But on the other hand, so the Marvel Cinematic Music, thumbs up. Lucasfilm, thumbs down. Now, to be clear, I've not seen any of the TV shows.
They're good.
But to be clear,
some of them.
I wouldn't like those either. But the movie sucked. And so you get a thumbs up and a thumbs down from me. But all I'm saying is, like, how long until they just own, I don't know, what's another massive entertainment brand that they could probably buy up, right?
Well, here's the thing, and people are always...
they pay like over $1 billion for Lucasfilm?
$4 billion.
Huh.
$4 billion.
George, what are you doing?
$4 billion for Lucas, which is a drop in the bucket. So here's the thing, because people are always amazed that, think about this, almost every single Disney movie, and there was a time where they were coming out with 3, 4, 5 movies a year. They all made $1 billion a year. Each of these movies made $1 billion. That's a lot of money, okay? That's a lot of money.
Meanwhile, it looks like, in my personal opinion, the D&D movie is not going to earn back its budget.
Oh, it's definitely not going to, unfortunately. So here's the thing.
Mediocre movies get mediocre box office.
Well, no, there's other reasons. It actually... 2 reasons is, one, they did not expect as much competition from John Wick, because John Wick went way over predictions.
What, the next weekend was the Super Mario Brothers movie?
Which was, I don't know why
that's a nail in the coffin.
That was stupid. I don't know why. Whoever made that decision was idiot.
That's what I'm saying.
And it's run by
morons.
It was supposed to come out 2 weeks before John Wick, and John Wick 4, like, went over the roof. But here's the thing: before the OGL, the D&D movie was projected to make $70 million, which would have brought back its budget if you use the projections. After the OGL, it went all the way down to $25 million, and then ended up opening at, I think, $39 million.
I see Jess
Jess is going crazy.
Is exclaiming the virtues of John Wick.
By the way, John Wick 4, Jess. I say John Wick 1 and 2. I kind of like 2 a little bit more than 1, but 1 is still a masterpiece. 1 and 2 right next to each other. Then John Wick 4, kind of down here though, and John Wick 3 is unwatchable. John Wick 3 is the worst acting I've ever seen ever.
I just want to say, I have not seen a single John Wick film ever.
Really? John Wick 2 is superb. John Wick 1 is actually, John Wick 1 and 2 were good. Then stop there. John Wick 4 was a video game, and it was ridiculous. I loved it, and it was fun, and it was ridiculous, and I'll probably never see it again. But John Wick 2, I've seen 1,000 times, and John Wick 1, I've seen 1,000 times. John Wick 3, terrible. Are you excited about the Continental, Jess? I'm very excited about that. That looks good. We did have a super chat. Let's go back. Amber Phoenix Fire, $5. A Disney TTRPG would start out well, but then be crushed by their greed and corner cutting. Look how Star Wars and Marvel movies are going downhill fast. That's okay. I can talk about these for a long time. The Star Wars movies is because was it Kennedy?
Kathleen
Kennedy has totally destroyed. They messed up, and they keep chasing the hot thing. They keep changing their tactics, but this is what they're really doing, because they just decided that they're going to be doing a Rey movie. And like, why are they doing Rey? It's because they are very interested. They, being Disney, is their number one target is to try to get young women into all their movies. And that's fine. Daisy Ridley was totally reasonable.
Yes. But it still was a horrible set of films.
Oh, like, yeah. Horrible.
I don't care. Yeah. Like, you could make every single character in the film female. I don't care. Just make it good.
Yeah. The ballerina movie with Ana de Armas. I like her a lot. She's really good, by the way.
Ben in chat says the Disney TTRPG was actually a subject of Ken and Robin Talk About Stuff. That's Robin Laws and Ken and Height. It's a podcast. A couple of months ago. Says it's worth the listen. I definitely have to check that out, Ben. That'd be interesting.
You like The Last Jedi and will defend it to anyone? It was fine. And in the Disney universe, fine does not cut it. Okay? It was fine. That's as good as it got.
I have more to say, Jess. If we ever end up at the same con or something like that, we'll have to have this debate.
Jess man, Jess woman. You can come on. Just hit me a text. Hit me a Discord. I'll get you on here and we can start arguing. So back to this game.
All I'll say is this: Last Jedi was my least favorite Star Wars of all time. Until Rise of the Skywalker came out.
Rise of the Skywalker's unwatchable. That is Pinkerton unwatchable. That's a bit. That was like, really? I was like, really? They just happen to have 1,000 Star Destroyers just hanging around. Like, I'm like, and then they magically got an army together in 5 minutes. Come on! It's like, oh, he's ridiculous.
There's this great tweet where it's like, they were like, all the Star Destroyers were created by the cult of Exegol, the Sith Eternal that lived on the planet Exegol, and they had created that for generations and trained their children and their children's children in order to be Star Commanders. And they're like, and then like this is explaining all of this, and then it was freaking Frodo. It was what's his name? Not Orlando Bloom. What's the actor that plays Frodo? His name is completely Elijah Wood. Was like responded with like, and how were we supposed to know that exactly?
By the way,
like, you just didn't.
Elijah Wood in Yellow Jackets. Mwah! He's so good in Yellow Jackets. I like Elijah. Oh, he's so good. So one's asking who's printing the cards. Okay, let's get into this game a little. Okay, first of all, Lorcana. Right now at Gamma. Okay, we're only an hour and 20 minutes into the topic. There's a convention going on right now in Reno called Gamma, where it has all the people who buy games are there. And a lot of the store owners are there. And this is where then the manufacturers show off their games and their products for the year. And that's where they decide how many you're going to buy. And in this magazine you can see we have like board games here, and here's ads from Renegade Games, Renegade Game Studios. And it's basically a trade convention. I went last year. I was going to go this year, but I was talking to a lot of friends. I didn't have a booth, and so I was like, and I had stuff going on here, so I decided not to. So I'm here. Next year it's going to be in Kentucky. They're moving to Kentucky, which will actually be a lot easier. Also, getting to Reno was a total nightmare. So they have
tough to fly to.
Well, there's no direct flights anymore. Last year,
why wouldn't they just do it in Vegas?
They used to be in Vegas.
Oh, okay.
It got too expensive. That's why. Now they're in Louisville, Kentucky, which is Louisville. I've been there.
Louisville. You got to say it.
Close.
And I've been told this.
It's close.
They said you got to say Louisville.
I know.
You got to say the word Louisville like you had a mouthful of marbles and whiskey. Louisville.
The Last Jedi is absolute trash. Unbelievable, Stephen. You have terrible taste in movies. I said it's trash. I didn't say I liked it. You're talking about Jess. Jess liked it. Now, don't look at me. So this is the game that everyone's been talking about. Supposedly, everyone I know who is at Gamma, and said this is the shit. This is what everyone, and I mean everyone, is talking about.
But wait.
Yes.
But you've got your people there. Are they saying it's a good game though? Or are they just saying that this is going to make
playing it?
Are they just saying that this is going to make every freaking little tween or teen or whatever kid be like, I want a pack of cards, and not have any? Like,
why
it's
can't
one
it
thing
be both?
No, it can be both. It can be both. But what I'm saying is, there's two ways. There's three ways that this game could go. One is it's Magic the Gathering, which is to say it's an incredibly complex, robust, deep game with a lot of gameplay. You can play it now.
Okay? The games are out there.
Or it could be Pokemon, which is a shit game, but has a lot of fans and collectability because of the market tie-ins. But if you're telling me that it's both,
it's supposed to be both. It's designed.
Then that is a game changer.
It's Ryan Miller and Steve Weiner.
Right. And I know Ryan Miller's name.
They're both from Magic. And they've been working on this game supposedly for a long time. It has inclusive organized play, that is the big difference between Magic the Gathering and Pokemon, is a robust organized play and tournament scene. They have gorgeous cards. The quality of the cards is supposed to be great because Ravensburger, Ravensburger, German company who does mostly puzzles and stuff, they know how to print. and supposedly the quality of the cards is superb. They have 4 sets coming out per year. And more importantly, the art in the sets are gorgeous. If you've seen them, it's random that any card can be a foil card, which is a cool thing. So any card can get foil. And they have the largest library in the world to pull from. I mean, it's the Disney catalog. What more do you want? That's ridiculous. I'm interested in it. And I haven't been interested in a collectible card game in a long time. I'm very curious. Okay, am I going to go out and play it on a weekly basis? Probably not. Am I going to buy it and try it? Yeah, you better believe I am. I'm very curious. And it looks like, I'm looking at some articles about it. It's like, you can play it, by the way. If you go to the website, they have a demo and everything. It comes out August 18th, right in time
for the big GC.
What do you mean GC? Oh, yeah. But on top of that, it's more important.
That's what I'm saying. It'll probably be like on display at Gen Con.
Yep. Not only is it Gen Con, even better yet, that's right when everyone goes back to school. Okay? Because they want this to come out. Everyone's going to school. Everyone's buying these cards, and everyone is bringing them in, and it becomes like a Pokemon thing where kids are bringing cards in, and other kids want to buy them.
Okay, all I'm going to say is this. As Magic the Gathering celebrates its 30th anniversary this year, cool cards and flashy foils and stuff like that, I have seen so many, the next card game, Force of Will. If anybody remembers Force of Will, everyone's like, oh, Force of Will's going to... Flesh and Blood. Oh, Flesh and Blood's going to be the next... The only reason a game lasts is because it's good.
You're 100% right.
And I don't care how pretty these cards are, how cool the foils are, or how neat it is that you have Elsa on a card. If the game doesn't have legs, then it's not going to be anything other than a flash in a pan.
Yeah, by the way, Mikey says kids aren't buying no cards. Wrong. That is very wrong. They buy a lot of cards, quite a bit.
They might buy the cards with their parents' money.
Oh, they buy cards. They're
buying cards.
Oh, they're buying cards. They buy a lot of cards. Let's see. Some people asked if we're going to Origins. Yeah, I'm going to Origins. You're going to Origins. I'm going to Gen Con. You're going to Gen Con.
Oh, I didn't know you were going to Origins.
I told you I bought my ticket already. We talked about this yesterday.
Did you?
Yes.
I thought. Oh, maybe did you not have a hotel room?
No, I have a hotel room, and we talked about how cheap the airfare was. I got everything.
All right. Well, then,
turning you to an old man.
I don't remember what happened yesterday.
Don't you remember? We had this whole thing we were talking about. Obviously not.
I need my Metamucil.
Well, good luck. Anyhow, they were saying that they were talking. So they have seminars with the stores, and they said what has been the most interest, the highest demand, and they said Lorcana by far. Is that people really want these games and they want to test it out, and they're going to be buying massive amounts of sets. Now, everyone in this channel could be poo-pooing them, and even you were like, oh, well, it's got to be a good game. You're 100% right, but you know what? You got to start off strong, and it's very hard to start off weak and then claw your way back up. This game is going to start off gangbusters, so it's really only going to go down from there. They don't have to go up from there. They can go down from there. So people are like, and even you're like, well, okay, Disney made, I think, $88 billion last year, okay? What they make in 3 days is what Hasbro makes all year. And it's funny. Yeah. I think of it this way. It's like WoTC versus Paizo. It's no contest. Well, guess who's Paizo in this analogy? Right. It's WoTC who's Paizo, because Disney, if they wanted to start pushing the weight around, they can push their weight around.
And that's what I'm saying. Okay, fine. You have this major market force, this huge brand, all of these incredible IPs that already have just the unbridled market hooks sunk into their consumer base. They're entering your market space. Cool. You know what you should not do? Shit the bed by sending private goons.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's right. Yeah, you're completely right.
And, like Disney's ad campaign should be like, Lorcana, we won't send armed people to your house. That's it. That's
Lorcana. We're Disney. We love you.
You know, like that's all you need to do. It's just like it's
Lorcana. No Pinkertons allowed.
Right. It's completely. What are they doing? What are they thinking?
Well, here's the thing. I'm looking at everyone's. They're saying chats are like, "Oh, it's a saturated market." I don't think you understand.
No, but it is. It is.
There are people out there who, and people are saying, "Oh, their whole personalities are built around magic." Let me tell you, the number of people whose whole personalities are built around magic vastly dwarfs the number of people who play magic. And
no, you mean the people who built their identities around Disney?
Sorry, the people who built their identities around Disney vastly over is a higher population than every role player and magic player in the world combined. Okay, Disney is gargantuan, and there's a lot of people who believe and tie their entire existence to Disney. And that's what I was going to say. I got distracted. Back when, do you think Disney movies do really well? They make $1 billion each, and then we got distracted by John Wick. Disney movies make up like 5 to 10% of what Disney makes. All their money.
It's like the parks.
The parks. That's correct.
Yeah, that's what Jess said in the chat.
Yeah, it's like 90. It's like 69%,
which is crazy. Aren't there like 2 Disneys?
No, there's
3.
There's one in just Tokyo Disney. There's Paris Disney. I think there's Hong Kong Disney.
Oh,
Taiwan.
Yeah, but like all those, including the one in California, right? They suck compared to like the main one, right?
Well, not really. I'm so angry. I went to Tokyo.
I mean, you're telling me that Disney World is 40 acres. I'm just
Disney World's
40.
amazing.
No, I'm sorry,
Disney
not 40
World
acres.
Is incredible.
40 square miles.
Yeah, 40 square miles. It's 25,000 acres. Yeah, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. But the point is that there was someone who just broke the world's record. Look this up. Of consecutive days going to Disney World. It was like 12,000 or something. Isn't that insane? Like, people love.
I know. I don't
get it. Disney.
And I can tell you this. I don't know much about the parks, but I can tell you about their cruise lines a little bit. I will also say this. Expensive.
Oh, the parks are insanely expensive.
Incredibly expensive.
Oh, yeah,
insane. Yeah. Like my, even like a Disney cruise is like times 2. What a cruise through like Royal Caribbean would be or something like that. It's
Aaron
crazy.
Is saying Lorcana might do really well, but it can't really see a ton of Magic players quitting to play it. They don't need a ton. You see, this is the thing.
Also, they don't need Magic players.
Yeah, they just need players.
All they need is for people who play Pokemon and people who don't play card games at all to be like, I love these characters. And, maybe we're at that. Disney has the kind of market research that we can only dream of. Maybe they understand that we have reached a critical saturation point with digital technology. Maybe we're at that point where analog is about to be cool again, right? Where maybe all like the Zennials and the Gen Z people who are just going to be on their phones and iPads forever. But if you take a look at like maybe the 10-year-olds of today, maybe they aren't going to be as screen dependent and they're going to want things physically because that's going to be almost the cooler, more retro way to do things. I don't know. I'm just saying Disney wouldn't do this if they didn't think it was going to be incredibly successful. So I think that their market opportunity here is huge. Now, does that mean that the game has legs, like that it'll go on for years and years? No, it'll probably sell 18 trillion packs of its first set. But, will the game still be around and playable in 5 years? Signs point to no, because that card games just die. They just wither on the
people
vine.
Are like card game, card fight Vanguard. People are mentioning it. You're 100% right, but none of these companies. These are companies that had a couple $1 million, for their entire budget, their entire company. Okay, last year, Magic the Gathering made for the first time ever $1 billion. You think? Do you think that Disney Lorcana can hit $1 billion within, I'll say 5 years, but I'm going to say 2 years, really. Do you think it's possible?
No. But
I think it will.
I think that's maybe.
I think it will. I think it's because think of it this way.
All right, friendly wager.
I'll tell you why. You can buy these cards at Disney parks. What happens if they release special cards and special decks you can only get at Disney parks? What happens if they release special cards and special decks that you can only get in Marvel movies during the first week of release?
What you're telling me is that the game is going to, or basically be just another marketing prong in their attempt to get people onto the parks.
Of course it is. What do you think? That's all they care about. That's the only reason they buy properties is to go and add them to the parks. You realize that, right?
Sure. No, I mean, I get it.
I mean, I'm serious. I'm actually not being snarky, dead serious. And yeah, I mean, that's why you're saying why physical? Because if you can physically get people into parks to get rare sets, you better believe there are people, a lot of people who will go there. And what happens if I'm not even a major player and I'm like, oh, there's a rare set of Lorcana's cards and I have my friend Johnny who's going to Disney with his family and I'm not. I'll tell Johnny, I'll tell my friends. I guarantee there's going to be message boards of people asking people to pick up cards for them and sending to them. People buying them and selling them on eBay and God knows what. Can you understand what I'm getting at? Like, this is going to be insane. This can really turn into its own thing. And will Magic get massively, destroyed by this? Probably not, but it ain't going to help. I guarantee you that. Because if you go to the stores, this is the thing. Where do they sell Magic cards right now? Yeah, they sell them at Targets and they sell them at Walmarts and they sell them, well, they don't sell them at Toys R Us anymore because they don't exist. But, they sell them at like bookstores, things like that. And of course, they sell them in game stores. Well, where is Lorcana going to be sold? Well, it's going to be sold every single place I just said everywhere. That Magic is sold.
Yeah.
Times another 10,000 because they don't have to fight to get their cards into Walmart or anywhere. They literally just say, here. And they just they don't have to do anything. It's going to get ordered. And the fact that this is the hit of Gamma and this is all people are talking about, you think that's not going to help? You don't think... Of course, August, it's going to be everywhere.
Right. If I was a store owner, I would be really excited that Disney was coming out with a card game as well, because I'm just imagining filling my entire, store up with little 10-year-old and 12-year-old, boys and girls, and having them be excitedly opening packs, spending their parents' money, losing their shit when they get a foil Elsa, with the Snowflake edition. And like, yeah, I mean, that's great. It's going to make a lot of money. Look, I'll play the game. Maybe at Origins, maybe at Gen Con.
We're gonna play it together, baby. We're gonna try it out,
and we'll try it out. We'll see what it is.
Yeah.
And see how how the game works. But yeah, if Disney wants to do this, they can do this. But I mean, Wizards of the Coast is certainly making it a lot easier.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, I mean, there's a lot of people who dislike Disney, but I hate to tell you, there's more people who like Disney than don't.
Absolutely.
And it's also, I'm curious how many of you I see a lot of chat, how many of you have kids? How many of you have been to Disney World? I have kids and been to Disney World. When you have kids, things change very quickly, okay? If you're single and you don't have kids, it's very easy to hate Disney.
Right.
When you suddenly have kids and you realize I need to do something to keep my kids active because I can't entertain them 24 hours a day, and suddenly the TV becomes one of your favorite friends. You know what's on all the time? The Disney Channel. At least in my house it was. What movies are they watching? Disney movies. Where are we going? Disney World. It becomes a big part of your life, whether you want to have it a part of your life or not. It's very, very, very hard.
That's marketing, baby.
Yes.
That's marketing.
And that's why you probably have never been to Disney, Derek, but if you had a kid, I bet you'd be going to Disney World.
Maybe not.
I actually have a funny story when I went to Disney World. So we went to Disney, and I had my kids. This was 2011. Went to the Polynesian Resort is the name, and we got there. It was really late. It was like 9:00, and my kids are like 4 and 6. They're pretty young, and that was Florida. And it's been cold. We came there. It was still February. The kids wanted to swim, but we're like, we're really tired. We just got here. And then I told my kids, they're like, can we go swimming? And it's like, it's 9:30. The pool is closed, right? That's what I say, right? But of course, Disney, being the geniuses they are, the pool's in the center, and you have to walk past the pool to get to your rooms, no matter what. There was no way not to do it. So we walk right by the pool, and it is filled with kids and people. And then my daughter looks at me and goes, the pool's not closed. And I'm like, oh, they're like, let's go. And then I'm like, Disney, you did it to me again. And they, sure enough, ran to the room. They got their bathing suits, and they're swimming all freaking night. And I'm like, Disney knows what they're doing. They are good what they do.
Sometimes. Because here's the thing, though, because like even though I think we can all agree that the sequel movies were kind of a letdown, the fact of the matter is they still sold millions and millions and millions, if not billions of dollars in box office returns, that they sold even more toys and collectibles and all this other stuff. You know what I mean? People may dislike the artistic interpretation of the films or things, but as long as you keep, like, for example, I'm like, oh, Marvel Cinematic Universe was great. Phase 5 was really disappointment. How many Phase 5 movies did I see? All of them.
Exactly. Right. So I was thinking of the Howard Stern analogy.
They got my money. You know?
They were like, do you ever see that Howard Stern, like when they did the market research, and they're like,
yes.
They're like, people who love Howard Stern, how long did they listen to him? An average of 3 hours. They're like, what about people who hate him?
Hate him.
3.5 hours.
Yeah,
and they're like, what?
Right, exactly.
What? It's like people hate him listen to him more than the people liked it. It's like, did I hate all those movies? Yes. Did you pay to see every single one? You better believe it.
Right. And at the end of the day, it's like, it's great if you like our movie or don't like our movie, but if you're gonna go buy tickets to see every single one of them, what difference does it make? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, now
right, and Jess is pointing out now the theme parks have things like Star Wars. They have the different what is it? Not Mos Eisley. What's it called? The one in California, the Star Wars.
Star Wars, or I don't know what it's called actually.
Journey's End or something.
Yeah, I haven't been to it. I've been a huge Star Wars fan, and I have not been to those. I really
Galaxy's Edge.
Oh, the new Tron ride is supposed to be amazing. That I almost went to Shanghai just to go on that ride because that's how amazing that motorcycle.
Just want to throw out there and say that in the new Tron movie,
I love the new Tron movie, by the way.
Cora, who is played by Olivia Wilde,
Cora, yes, I like her quite a bit.
Was so incredibly fine that it's difficult for me to watch that movie.
I love that movie, and because also my favorite band of all time is The Who, but right up there is probably Daft Punk. Oh,
yeah, okay. Well, the soundtrack is incredible. I mean,
it's fantastic. I listen to it all the time. I love Daft Punk. They're coming up with a new album. They have unreleased. They're coming up with an unreleased album soon of some of their like stuff that they never came out. Whatever. I just read something about that. Even though they broke up, I was like, oh, thank God. I never got to see them live. I'm so upset. Ugh. They're supposed to be amazing. They're supposed to be like the best thing ever. So.
Right. All right. Well, Stephen, I got to go with 15 minutes. So what do we want to wrap up with?
15 minutes?
Yeah, I said I had to go to 4.
Oh, well, too bad. All right. Well, then we'll get Jess on and we can keep going. Get in the car, Steve. Let's go. It's Florida. Well, I can't go to Florida right now.
Besides, I have another live stream later tonight.
No, that's right. Yeah, you keep going.
I have a channel too.
Tonight. No,
I'm doing my book review.
I know. I can't wait. I'm going to watch that. I love your book reviews. You got to review Dragons, even though you never read it.
I know. We did do Bestiary the other day. Did you see that?
I know. But I'm a little upset because you only did the first part. You didn't even mention the second part, which is.
What do you mean the second part?
The monster parts. That's the whole
monster parts. Okay.
Yeah, you didn't even mention the monster part system. Dude, that's all the crunches.
I think I got talked. I think I got talked about.
Barely. You're like mentioned it once. You didn't. I don't think you read it. I talked
about how people
never even read it. You never even read it. You don't even know.
I talked about it. I talked about it.
No, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Anyways,
well, my point is that I think WoTC is freaking out because for whatever reason over the weekend I was listening to OGL podcasts that I missed to kind of relive it, and it was funny to hear it again in like real time. Like people,
you and I have very different tastes. You're like, if it was up to me, I would never watch a thing about the OGL or listen to a thing about the OGL ever again.
Yeah, it was funny, but it was interesting because I was listening to it, and it was interesting to hear the takes back then. Just because I think it's relevant now, because okay, now we're 3 months later, and I'm like, wow, it's like. It's just they can't seem to get out of their own way. It's they just they continuously do this, and the only reason I can think of, and I kept saying, is that they're making these terrible decisions because they're scared. They can't figure out how to grow, and one of the main reasons, the ways to grow, is to start limiting your competition, which does not work.
Yeah, I don't know that I agree with that, but I don't have any sort of competing belief or theory as to why. I just think it's bad leadership. It might be corporate pressure from shareholders or board of directors or who knows what.
Oh, it is. I mean, they have to grow the brand.
money.
They have to grow the brand, and they when they saw the OGL, they must have been. I did my people like that. I can do it again. I don't think you're on that one. The execs on the board. It's like, all right, so we need to grow the brand. Okay, how much should what's it, World of Warcraft? What's it called? Oh, Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, Dungeons and Dragons. So what did it make? 150 million last year. Okay, that's great. So we got to make it up to. We need it up to 500 million in 5 years. So what's your plan here? What's your plan?
Right.
Oh, wait. What's this thing? It's OGL. What do you mean? So anyone can make anything from a game for free forever? Right. You're kidding, right? This can't be real. I mean, why would we ever buy a company? This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. So, okay, first order of business, you're going to kill that, right? So we're going to kill that OGL thing dead. We're going to make sure that no one can make stuff. We're going to own the market and just kill everyone. Just make it happen, man, because, I mean, this is the stupidest thing I ever heard. I mean, why would we ever buy a company that gives away their games for free? This is so dumb. This OGL thing, I'm sure we could just, like, strong arm everyone. Just go get the Pinkertons out there and,
Right. If anything, they fucked up. They should have sent the Pinkertons out for the OGL.
Right, they should have. They're sending the wrong people. They screwed up. They should have sent the Pinkertons after the OGL people, and then sent the lawyers after the Magic people. They screwing that all up. That's the problem. So anyhow, yeah, because I mean, how are we going to grow that? This is impossible. We can't grow the brand. This OGL thing, everyone gets everything for free, and they can just make all of our games, and we don't have to pay, and then we get paid anything. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. All right, so kill the OGL, get rid of that. We're gonna say we're just gonna say it doesn't exist anymore, right? I mean, who's gonna care? What are these? These are all like mom and pop shops or 2 or 3 people. What are they gonna do? They're not gonna fight us. We're $1 billion company. We're Fortune 500, baby. So yeah, we'll just sweep that under the rug. And just to make sure, just to be positive, we'll do it over Christmas break because everyone's gonna be out and partying. No lawyers are gonna be around. So we're just gonna do this all under the radar. No one's gonna know about it. And there we go. All taken care of.
$82 billion company, by the way.
Oh, 82. I thought it was 86. So my memory's a little off. 82. Still a lot of money.
But anyway, it's still crazy. Anyway, long story short, yes, they. I don't know what Wizard of the Coast. There was some clueless, horrible executive with some fundamental misunderstanding of how any of all of this works, and yeah, I mean, they just keep shooting themselves in the foot. I never thought I would literally see that happen again over something so stupid and so innocuous and so just again, there's no way you could put that cat back in the bag. So the only thing that could come out as a result of this is bad press. And the idea that you are, I suppose, sending a message to anyone in the future who might think about leaking their cards.
Send me, by the way, if anyone's watching this and you got cards, send them to me. I will gladly put them on the air. I have no fear.
Anything for those views, Stephen. That's all.
It's not that. It's like the cops love me now.
Oh, that's true. That's true. That's true. You're now the
love me, and I will have them on speed dial. They'll be here in 10 seconds, baby.
So 7 Deadly. We kind of talked about this earlier, so maybe we can end it with this, Stephen, because I do got to run.
Okay.
7 Deadly Sins says, "Do you think Disney would ever seriously buy WoTC and or Hasbro?"
Yeah. No, I talked about it. Of all the companies,
I think they would too.
The Embracer Group. Although they've been calming down on what they're buying. The Embracer Group would buy WoTC, not Hasbro. I think WoTC. Oh, they'd probably have to buy Hasbro. And they're a public company, so they're like, oh, they'll never do it. They can easily buy it. They can get bought. The problem is like, A, I don't think their stock is nearly low enough for them to buy it. And second, they don't really want. I don't think their brands are worth enough right now. I don't think Transformers and D&D and Magic and whatever else they have in Monopoly are really worth anything comparatively for how much it would cost to buy them. They just don't.
Well, so what you're telling me is the stock is highly overvalued.
Oh, I think it is because, well, this is it.
Short has right now.
Well, you would have made a lot if you shorted it. But think about it. They don't have individual they have properties, but they don't have characters. And that's a big problem because Disney likes characters. And they do like universes that they can build characters into. I mean, that's why they bought Marvel. I mean, Marvel was the best buy they had probably ever because they got everything. They got the universe and the characters and an insane history. So if they buy D&D, maybe, they could do something with it, but it's going to be pretty hard. I don't even know what they would do with that.
Yeah.
The more I think about it, I actually think that if they bought it, they would buy it just to control it and kill it the way Microsoft does.
or just to get the distribution channels or maybe something like that or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even care about the
actual stuff.
Yeah, they don't care about the brands. But something like Embracer Group or someone else out there probably would buy it and then maybe turn it into something. But if that happens, you're going to see Magic and D&D go in a very different direction, as opposed to now where they're only going to go into a very different direction. For all I know, is they can be doing this. I mean, this is pure speculation, but I bet you I'm not wrong. They can be doing this VTT that they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on,
right?
To pump up the brand, get all these people in, and then sell D&D while it's hot for billions of dollars and get out. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. And maybe they don't care. Maybe they don't care. That's why they're burning it to the ground. Because if they get all the casuals in and they turn it into an online video game and it destroys the TTRPG market, what do they care? Because then they turns it into $1 billion brand, and then it turns into a massive online platform, and then they just sell it, and then they're out, and then someone else's problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't think of any other reason why they would do that. So,
and maybe that's why they don't care about all the bad press, because in the end of the day, they're like, well, we're getting rid of it anyhow. We just need to survive. I mean, maybe they just don't care about it in the long run nearly as much as we think they are. So
there you go.
Especially now that the movie did so.
You got Wizards of the Coast sending people after YouTubers. You've got how long ago was the Creator Summit? like 2 weeks.
2 weeks ago. It's just like, that's the thing. It's like, remember when the OGL ended and everyone's like, oh, it's over. And I was like, it's just the beginning, baby. It's just the beginning. We got a long way to go. A long way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the worst mea culpa of all time. And you got Wizards of the Coast shit in the bed again. And I think, like I said, believe it or not, the OGL thing, actually, I didn't think it was actually that big of a deal. I know that sounds crazy, but I actually didn't. This to me seems like it's a much bigger deal because it's so bizarre and strange, and it really just speaks to the desperate mentality of the company. And I don't know.
Okay, Neutron Mancer, you got a hero point because he wrote,
"Oh my god,
for you, The day WoTC shot themselves in the foot was the most important day of your life. For me, it was a Tuesday.
It was but a Tuesday.
That was my favorite line from Street Fighter the movie. I love that line. Raul Julia, rest in peace. God, is that such a good line? It is so, because he also delivers it with the Raul Julia charm that I do not have. Sure. He's so good at delivering that line. It's like... Right.
You know, he did that movie because that was his kid's favorite game.
I know the whole history. And he was dying of cancer.
Yeah, dying of cancer.
And in fact, he was so thin that they made Jean-Claude Van Damme lose like 40 pounds so he looked smaller next to him, because they couldn't have Jean-Claude Van Damme be this giant guy. And Raul Julia also, they made him like gain weight or try to gain weight for the movie because he was in such bad shape.
Yeah, Jess says, if you really want to wither into dust, it hasn't even been a year since the Satine Phoenix and Jameson Stone incident. I know that because all of that happened, that all broke at last year's Origins Game Fair. They were the guests of honor.
Oh my God.
At Origins 2022. They had a booth and they were going to have all these things. And then everything broke like just as Origins was starting. And they got like, all their events got canceled. They left the con. They were the guests of honor, but they never showed up and never did anything. It was like a whole thing. And you're right. Origins isn't for another, month or so. So, yeah, it's not even been a year since that.
Bison bucks. I'm going to pay you in bison dollars, Betty.
M. Bison. Whatever happened with them? I don't actually know. Seven Deadly Twins. I don't know.
Whatever happened to who? Oh, yeah, they've been really quiet, Phoenix. And they were supposed to come out.
Do you mean the queen of D&D?
I was going to do I was going to do something with her for my last Kickstarter, and I didn't. And like, this was before all this happened. Mark was like, "Boy, you missed a bullet there." I was
you went full Neo on that one.
I know. I was like, yeah. And I was stalking her for a while, but then I'd get stuff with Ginny D instead. So
there you go.
Chose the right person for that one. But yeah, they're while we're on topic, where are you guys going? Well, I'm going to be sitting here for the rest of the day, and then I'm going to watch the Met game, and then I'm going to have dinner. What are you doing?
Me? Well, I am going to finish up some work that I need to do, since I did take a little bit of a break here in the afternoon to chat with you fine folks, and that'll probably take me into dinner. And then at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can join me over on my channel, Knights of Last Call. If you want to see me continue to dig through my book collection, what's on the shelf is what we've been through so far. The 27 piles that are on the floor are the books that we still have to go through. Wow. As we continue to just look through all of my random RPG books and make decisions about, which ones do I like, and have little quick 2-minute conversations about all these different games.
And then we're going to throw them overboard, baby.
We'll throw them overboard. No cruise for at least the rest of the year, probably. So
I know he actually said, are we going to Origins? Yes. I think we just have to say in the bottom, blinking, we are going to Origins. We are going to Origins. Oh, yeah.
This was a cool book. Yeah. This was the book with the original Wild Magic chart. What a book.
I love Wild Magic. That's like my favorite thing.
All right, Stephen, give me a number between 1 and 100.
1 and 100? Yeah. I'm going to roll it. How about that?
All right, sounds good. And as amazement, between probably like 10-ish on Amazon, 10 to 15 in
50.
Each pile.
I got 50. Yeah, that's what I rolled.
Guess what?
Go ahead.
Your spell instead becomes the effects of a monster summoning spell of equivalent level.
Cool. That works.
Cool.
I'll take that. Do I do another one?
Sure, why not? One more.
Oh, okay.
All right. You cast again. It's a wild magic search. Actually, wait.
Magic, yeah.
Wait. You got to roll D20.
I have a D20.
All right, roll D20. First, we got to determine what the level of it is.
3.
Let's say, all right. So you rolled a 3. So, okay. That means that the spell is going to go off at 1 level of power lower than your current caster level.
Ooh.
So if you're level 9, it's only going to be a level 8 caster
all
effect.
Right, we'll
now,
level 8, yeah.
roll percentage.
Roll percentage. All right. I have, you know what? Let me get, are you ready?
The book is 2nd edition Tome of Magic.
See that? I got everything behind here. This shelf is like the shelf of everything. All right. I got my, that's the D8. Here we go. Got my D100 right here. And 40,
I feel like I'm playing D&D.
46.
Well, all doors, secret doors, portcullises, including any of those that are locked or barred within 60 feet of the casters, all immediately spring open.
And I summon Pinkertons from the other spell. They all appear. It's like we're playing D&D. You would love wild magic. Stephen is an agent of chaos. Why does everyone keep saying that? Why does everyone...
Mark says that all the time, and he is so right. You are an agent of chaos. Like, for example...
Why am I an agent? Give me examples of why I'm an agent of chaos.
There we go. Ready?
Says that.
Because you are a pot stirrer, my friend. You like to you like to stir things up just to see what'll happen. And I'll give you another example. Do you like wild magic tables?
Yes.
I do not like wild magic tables.
Well, I love it, baby. I love it.
Yeah, you love the chaos. If we ever played 13th Age, in the expansion book to 13th Age, 13 True Ways, there is a class called the Chaos Mage, which is the most unbelievably insane random TTRPG class you will ever experience in your entire life. And
that was great.
And you would love it.
I love it.
Elia says, I can't stand wild magic. And
well, I'll tell you why I like it.
I agree.
Well, I'll tell you why I like it. Because I feel like at this time of my life, I have to play Pathfinder and D&D on hard mode or extremely hard mode. And wild magic is hard mode because you just can't prepare. Like, you can't prepare. No one can prepare. You got to really use the tools at your disposal to figure out how to get out of whatever chaos you cause. And that's why I like it. In fact, our last couple of Pathfinder sessions has last night, that almost TPK, no one, and I mean no one, was rolling like over a 7. Like, they were rolling 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 6, 1, 3, and I was rolling. I had I critted everyone, and then it was doing persistent bleed, 2d10. I rolled a 20, so it's a 40 points of damage. I rolled a 19, and then I rolled another 19 in a row. I just couldn't stop rolling high. They were getting destroyed. They critically failed a Baleful Polymorph, both of them, so they became rabbits and lost their brains. It was insane, man. But you know what? It was an exciting game because they had to really think of how to get out of it. I mean, it wasn't just like, I attack, I flank, I do this. Like, they were really paying attention. And
does it make you sad to know that like probably 99% of Pathfinder 2 games are exactly what you just described?
Not mine.
What I'm saying, does it make you sad to know that yours is a very rare exception?
No, because that's why I'm so special.
All right.
With that,
I gotta go. So,
Exhibit C: Stephen is delighted by players failing Baleful Polymorph.
No, that's actually Exhibit D. Oh, just correct.
Well, let me tell you something, Jess. That's on YouTube. You can watch it. You can hear. You can hear the glee in my voice as the party is dying, and I am ecstatic.
Yeah. So, Elia, by the way. Ayla got it exactly right. Ayla said, wild magic always ends up being incredibly disruptive, and it's always the first build that any troll goes for because they know it's obnoxious. And that is exactly right. And that is exactly you. And that is exactly why you would go. Because what it does is it allows you to be a troll and obnoxious, but you can't be like, it's not my fault. It was the dice. And like, you can just disclaim.
It sounds like you've been in my games. Wow, have you been secretly spying on me? That's exactly what I
that's 100% you. And you could be like, meanwhile, like anybody would be like, wait, but you chose to be that class. It's like, whoa, it's in the player's handbook. I could choose it, right? And so it's like,
hey, man, I'm playing by the rules, man. I'm technically correct, which is the best kind of correct.
Right. You're like the person who lets go of the wheel in the car and then crashes into somebody else and says, it wasn't my fault. I wasn't driving.
No, I would never do that. That's crazy. That's real life. I'm not real life crazy. I'm game crazy.
I wasn't implying that you would do. I'm saying like that's the mentality you're thinking.
Yeah. You see, that's the thing. So by the way, that's why games are so great is that I can be an agent of law and order and rule order and rule obeying in real life. But in the game world, I can let my freak flag fly.
Like, to be clear, and I've used this advice many times. I've given this advice many times. I always tell people, play a role-playing game and play your character like it's a stolen car. If you crash it, it's no big deal. You don't get to keep it anyways. Right. Drive it fast, drive it hard. Like, treat it like a stolen car, or at the very least, like a rental car that you don't really care about. Because that's the whole point of the game. It's to take risks that you, as a person, could never take or would never take. It's the ability for you as a person in the role-playing game to make moral stands and make sacrifices that you, as a real person, could never make or would never make. And so I always tell people, like, push it to the limits and see how far you can take yourself, because that's where growth occurs. Anyway.
How big of a super chat do we need to have lunch at Origins with the RFC team? Not that big.
I mean, Billy, if you see me eating lunch at Origins, you can stop up and be like, "Hey, what's up?"
And then have lunch with take out your checkbook and and see if you can pay,
the number of the hell. If we're podcasting, you can just, if we have an open mic, you can just grab one. I don't care.
Wow, you're nicer than me, but I'm gonna be there and I'm gonna take that mic and start.
My
talking.
Level of specialness is like last year at Origins, first time ever occurred.
Yes.
Last year at Origins, I was going to my room to get some podcasting equipment. I was coming back out of my room. There was a couple of people playing a board game in the hotel. And as I was making my way back over to the convention hall, somebody from that board game kind of stopped me and said, "Hey, aren't you from Knights of Last Call?" And I said, "Yeah, I am. Hey, here's a sticker." That's the first and only time I have ever been recognized for being on the internet.
Last year, when I was coming back from Gamma, and the cab driver picked me up from the hotel to go to the airport, and he knew who I was.
Sick.
So I've had a couple. I've been in airports, and people bumped into me at E3. A lot of people knew who I was at E3.
London and Matthews, by the way, Pinkertons are gonna have to show up to bust Derik out of the stream. That's right. I'm gonna send him over to your house, Stephen. I gotta go.
You say you gotta go, but yet you're still here. Knights of Last Call, such a good name, by the way, as opposed to Roll for Combat. What a stupid name! Quoted Derek Melinda.
That's right.
And what do you say every time you go into combat now?
Well, we used to say roll for initiative like a normal human being, but now,
yes,
because it started as a joke, and now it's just the way we do it.
Yes,
roll for combat.
Yay! I did it. I earwormed you. Everyone does it. It worked.
Don't be like me. Have pride. Have dignity.
Marketing worked. Such a stupid name. That's what WoTC's doing. Like, let's send Pinkertons. What a stupid idea, but it got you talking about them.
Nutrimaster. Yes, Monster Hearts would probably be even a better example of it. And as a game, as a book that I probably read like cover to cover, like at least 10 or 15 times, that would make sense why that's where I would know that from.
All right.
I gotta go.
You're gonna go. I was gonna tell you one quick story and then you can go.
You'll like it.
You'll like it. It's a good story.
One story. All right, last story.
Okay, Agent of Chaos, Stephen Glicker. Yeah. Last year at Gamma, they were testing out Bard Song, a new game that was supposed to be a Frosthaven, Gloomhaven killer. It's not that great. Anyhow, we're playing it, and you're supposed to play like Frosthaven or Gloomhaven. You're a group of and you're all fighting together. And we're playing with the developers, and we're all playing. There's 5 of us playing together. And I say to the developer, "What's the point?" He goes, "Well, you have to go from here to the exit." I say, "So if I get to the exit, do I win?" And he goes, "Yes." So I go, "Okay," and I run to the exit, and I leave everybody behind, and I split the party. And it was a slaughter. Everyone's getting killed. Everyone's getting destroyed. And I managed to, in fact, I died, but there's a respawn mechanic. I managed to respawn. I used up all of everyone's resources because it's all group resources, totally destroying. And I ran to the exit and got out. And then the next day, they all sat down with me and they say, "We have play tested this for years, and we have never seen someone do that before." And I said to them, then you are not testing right, because that's stress testing, baby. If you're testing it the way people are supposed to play it, that is not how you test. You got to test the way people are not supposed to play it. And they actually were very happy I did it, because they never saw someone do that before.
That's pretty sick.
That is Agent of Chaos.
There you go.
If you try,
if you can shock the game designers to be like, oh, we never thought anyone would ever actually do that or could do that, even after hundreds of hours, if not thousands of hours of playtesting. You're outside the box thinker, Stephen. We'll call you that.
Well, it's not that. It's like in software development, we stress test things all the time, and that's pretty much what we have to do. Is we have to do, edge cases constantly, because that's where it breaks. And you have to do that with gaming too. If you don't do edge case testing, which we're doing right now for Eldamon, then it's not going to work. Okay, you got to do edge case, and that's how you come out with good, strong mechanics. Because if it works on edge casing, then it'll work with everything else.
There you go.
Have fun. I'm going to watch your stream tonight.
All right, yeah. If you want to see me talk about, I don't know, about 30 to 40 to 50 different RPG books of just anything from the last 50 years,
we're not going. That sounds riveting.
If you're into that type of thing,
I am into that sort of thing.
That's
I love to see Mr. Smooth Voice talk all about his D&D 4th and 3rd edition books and how
we got 2nd edition, we got 1st edition books, and of course we have a massive pile of indie books as well.
Books, but he always talks about how amazing his books are back in the day and how crappy everything is today, right?
That is true.
That's pretty much here's every book. This book was blank.
No,
as opposed to today's books, this book was amazing. As opposed to today's books, I give this book a insert score from A to F. That is every one of your ranks.
That's not true. There are new books that I love. There are old books that I hate.
I'm talking about this is all the older books. Older books.
Just because a book is old does not mean I like it. There are plenty of books I don't like. So anyways, all right. I gotta go.
All right. I'll see you all later. Thanks for joining.